Yeah, so hello everyone, and we are starting off with web development basics. So this video gonna be the dead basics of web development, like what is web development and what are the application of it, what are the contents of it, uh, how it works, etc. And also we are going to see the very basics of HTML. And at the end, we'll see the difference between HTML and HTML5. What are the new features that have been put in HTML5? And also, we are going to see how we can run a code snippet of HTML in a code editor. So, yeah, so let's dive in. So, the objective is to understand web development terms and learn the basics of HTML. As I said, how it works, etc. So I've told the contents. The intro to web development. So web development is the work which is involved in developing a website for internet. So basically, when we go into an internet, what we see, uh, whatever the website opens in the browser, like when we write www.this.com or http some link facebook.com, etc. So whatever that opens, it is called a website, and development of that website is called web development. So web development can range from developing a simple static page of plain text to complex web application, electronic businesses, and social network service. So it can be a static website. For example, if I take a website which can show only pictures of some store or something, the contents of it, or a news website, we can say. It only shows the uh, photos, information, etc. So it's a static website. What is a complex website application? So a complex web application can consist of many large integrated technologies, and the user can interact. The user can uh, speak to the website. They can control the website. So those are very complex, and it's for business. It's for a business point of view, and social networking service like whatever we see Facebook, LinkedIn, etc. Those all are very complex, and internally they have databases, etc. So yeah, so we'll see that later. A more comprehensive list of tasks to which web development commonly refers may include web engineering, web design, web content development, etc. It A website may also contain web server. It can also contain a database. So for that, security configurations, etc. are there, and also e-commerce development. What we can see, Amazon, Flipkart. So yeah, so those things are there in web development. So next we see front end and back end technologies. So a website will consist of front end and back end. So what do I mean by front end? Front end development focus on client facing aspects of website or application. This includes designing and optimization of user interface. So this is the keyword over here, user interface. Working on important visual aspects of web pages and taking care of any website debugging issues. Front-end code and front-end languages help developers integrate complex and effective web design. In order to become a successful front-end developer, there are certain languages, tools, and frameworks. Exactly. So, what is front-end development? Front-end development involves building the website where the client is facing. Whatever the client sees, that is the front end. of a website. So if you see an image, if you press a button, etc., if you see a notification popping, if you see alerts, or if you see login screens, etc. So those are all the front end development uh, which we can see in a website. So it is basically a user interface and working with visual aspects of web pages. And there is certain set of tools for front end itself, so that we can make a beautiful website. And even we need to know that front end technologies should be having responsive design. So, for example, I cannot build a website only for PCs, or I cannot build a website only for mobile. It should work in every screen, no matter how small or how large it is. So, that is called responsive design. So, a front end engineer should be capable of handling all those aspects. So that's front end engineering. So coming to front end technologies, we have HTML5, we have CSS3. So HTML5 is a new version of HTML. CSS3 is a new version of CSS. JavaScript. So JavaScript is also there uh, in the front end, so that we can change the text. For example, if we have a text, when we press a button, the text can change to something else. For that, JavaScript is used. Or if we want time, we can use JavaScript to count down the time, like stopwatch, etc. We can use JavaScript, which has beautiful libraries which we can use. AngularJS and React.js, those both are frameworks. So in a framework, we use again HTML, JavaScript, etc., or the combination of it to get a beautiful front end design. So Angular is owned by Google, uh, and it's used a lot in web development, in modern day front end applications, or even full stack applications. Uh, AngularJS is a little bit hard, we can say, for a beginner to get used to it. And yeah, so it uses JavaScript a lot into it. And if we have any other features, we will know it later. React.js is a product of Facebook, and it is also open source. And the learning curve of React.js is very easy for a beginner to learn. React.js, it takes really less time. So yeah, so we have AngularJS and React.js, and these two are dominating the market nowadays. We can see. We can see that there is a combination of HTML and CSS and JavaScript together, which is put into a framework with beautiful libraries built by developers. So those are called frameworks, which we can see later. If you have a playlist on that, we can do that. So we come to backend technology. So what is backend? So we saw front end technologies. In front end, it is about user design. It is about user experience. It is about user interface. It is the place where a user will uh, able to see a website, or feel the website, or use the website. It is that place. But internally, what happens? Internally, what logic is built by the business? For example, if we take a payment system. So, if you take a payment system, and suppose I want to buy something like a bag or something, how does it work internally? So, I need to put the bag into the cart, I need to store that locally in my PC, and then I need to uh, go to the order page where I need to choose if I need cash on delivery or any UPI or etc. If I choose UPI, which bank do I need, etc. And all those things which happens in a transaction, we put up. It takes us to some apps like Google Pay or Phone Pay, etc. And there it asks us PIN, passwords, etc. And internally it goes to the bank. The request goes to the bank, and we check if there is sufficient amount in the bank. If there is sufficient amount in the bank, we deduct the charge from that. We keep the balance into. We show the balance to the user also. So those processes which happens in the back end, those those things are called the technologies which makes this happen. They are called backend technology. So in order to happen, in order this to happen, uh, there should be lot of logical skills which is required. And yeah, so backend development focuses on server side aspects of website or application. This type of development is concerned with website architecture, scripting, and communication with database, which is very important. We'll come back to this. Backend code enables the communication between the browser and information from database. Backend developers focus on how to build a website, which means they might be working with APIs, code that interacts with databases, libraries, data architecture, and more. So, combination of all this, the communication with the database, the calling of application programming interface called APIs, etc. Everything comes under backend. So, if I take backend, so what is a backend? So, backend has two aspects. One is the server side aspect and the database aspects. So in server side aspect, what we do is it is a communication between the front end and the server and the database. So it's a link between front end and server and database. So the data can go from back and forth from the user to the database and from the data to the user. But who is there to control this? That is a server. So a server will control the data from the user to the database and database to the user. What to show to the user and what to take from the user. If there is any validation, for example, if we need to sign in or sign up, all the validation that happens, if it is a valid email, if it is a valid phone number, valid what we can say password, etc. All those things happens in the backend. So, so a server is like a we can say it's like a protection layer where the business logic is built in. So that's the server side of backend. Next is database. So what is a database? Database contains all the information which is of the user, which is of the orders, which is of uh, all the grocery items which you see in apps, etc. The each and every details is put into different tables. So whenever we want, we will get the data of it. Not only that, we will also store the details of orders, also shipment details, etc. So everything will be there in the database. So database and server both combine to become backend. Yeah. And also APIs. What is API? Application programming interface is used so that we can get help for something. For example, if I want a website which shows repositories of GitHub, what I need to do is I need to use GitHub APIs. I need to take the help of GitHub and I need to get the details of that user. So their application programming interface helps. So GitHub, as I said, GitHub, it should have the document for that application programming interface. So you go to the site, you use their APIs, and easily you will get what you want. So that is application programming interface. And here we can see the main technologies. For example, Node.js, Express.js. So Node.js is a runtime environment for JavaScript. What do I mean by runtime environment? So if you want to run JavaScript locally, then we use uh, Node.js. But why specifically Node.js? Because it has lot of libraries which is built in. Node.js with Express.js will help us to build very good progressive apps. So Express.js is like a framework for Node.js. And we see Django, which is from Python. We also see Java. Java has Spring, Hibernate, etc. So that's a different world of uh, frameworks, etc. We have Ruby on Rails, which was very famous back then. Now we can see Node.js dominating. We also see PHP, which is also a server scripting based language. And even the databases also come into this. For example, SQL, uh, MongoDB, Cassandra, etc. So this is the comparison of the content of a website. If I take, for example, Amazon. So the front end part is what users see, and they have given it as 20% of total efforts is put into the front end part, where only and only the execution of the app happens and interaction of users with app happens. But the rest 80% with the users doesn't see, and uh, all the functions, all the code logics, all the magic that happens is done by the backend. So yeah, so in a browser we can say backend technologies which are uh, being in app being run in the browser. So it consists of web server and databases. So this is the trend of uh, technologies which we can see. It started late from 1990s, the development of website. We can see HTML dominating, and you can see this part is the client side aspect, and this side is the server side aspect. So I will put this in the slide, which you can check later. So we can see versions of HTML over here, and we can see later we see Netscape, and due to Netscape we see LiveScript, and it gave birth to JavaScript. So from Netscape, JavaScript was born, and JavaScript got again it got separated into many uh, different types of languages like ECMA script, TypeScript, etc., which is very predominant even now. And we also see birth of CSS over here somewhere in 1994, etc. So we see different version of it, CSS 1, CSS 2. Now it's CSS 3. And we also see uh, browsers, Nexus 0.0, Mosaic, Netscape, Opera. We can see Mozilla, we can see Firefox, and now we can see Chrome, which is predominant even today. And even this time, even Java started its applets. So from Java applets, we can build apps, web apps, and even applications. So JDK, which is Java Development Kit, the different version of it, J2EE, etc. It's a different world of JavaScript, Java. And in the backend, we can see Java servlets, JSP, J2EE. So J2EE comes in the backend part, J2SC, etc. comes in the front end. So this is all the different backend technologies. We see Python. It was much before Java. So Python was before Java and different version of it. Currently, I think it's 3.8 version or so, or I don't know, maybe uh, other version. And somewhere in 2005, it again got separated into Django. Django is very popular nowadays, which you can build magnificent web applications. We also see Flask. Flask is also built from Python. Uh, I think it came after 2009, so we can see from Perl we got two languages from, I mean, from the initial Perl. There is Ruby, which got converted into Ruby on Rails, and we see PHP. So PHP was dominating the market for a long time, and we can see different version of PHP. Even now, PHP is there. It's not uh, very famous now, but it's used in many technologies. We can see Cake PHP, which is also a version which is used in different colleges, etc., for payment related, etc. It's we can say a little bit outdated language, but it's used even today. It's used in Facebook also, PHP, and others here ASP, etc., which is a .NET technology. This is all about it. So front end development plus back end development is equal to full stack development. So whatever we see, the front end part and the back end part all together will form full stack development. So there was a time where front end developers and back end developers were separately hired. There was nothing like full stack development, but due to the advancement of technologies, etc., there is full stack development in many companies. So there you have to work in both front end aspects also, back end aspects also. Yeah. And full stack developers are uh, very on demand. So the starting thing which you should know in web development is about HTML, because HTML is the thing which gave birth to all this what we can say web application we see today. And even today, without HTML, we cannot build a web application, because everything we see, every frameworks we see, it has HTML internally, because HTML is like a skeleton. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. It is used to display web pages on browser, and as the name suggests, it's not a programming language. You cannot write logics in it. We cannot write programs using HTML. Instead, it's a markup language. So it consists of tags. Use different tags to get some. There is nothing like you can use if or for loop or, and it's like a skeleton of a human body. It gives a shape to the website. So we can see HTML syntax over here. So this is how it looks. You can see doc type HTML. Doc type HTML came after for this new version of HTML, that is HTML5. Doc type means document type. Uh, then we see HTML, which is the parent uh, tag. It's the, what we can tell, biggest ancestor, first ancestor we can. Under that we can see head tag. So head tag, uh, here basically what we do is we put title, page title over here. We can add title to the web page. We will show the output later. And even in this head tag, we put CSS code also. We will learn about CSS later, but I've just told that we can. There, one of the ways to add CSS to the website is by adding it into the head tag. Then we see body tag. So whatever you see in a web page, for example, if I take Gmail, etc. So if I take Gmail, whatever you see over here, whatever you see over here, uh, that is uh, that is the content of the body tag. So in the body tag, we see all those things, but we cannot see any other things other than the title. The title appears at the top, but it's not on the page. So this is about the body tag, and at last we end it with HTML. So this is the opening set of brackets. This is the closing set of brackets. So why we have closing set of the bracket? Because it's to show the limit. So between this we have HTML between that, because when we send it, for example, if the server needs to send some web page, then it will contain HTML, as you know. So that HTML doesn't we cannot send it like this format. Uh, so it will be jumbled. So when it is jumbled, even then the client side should able to understand the code. So for that, tags are used. That is opening and closing. So that in between this is the content we are showing. And it also has meaning. Every tag has a meaning. As I said, doc type HTML declares and defines the document that it is an HTML5 document. HTML5 is the most modern form of HTML, which has a lot of features, and it's really good. HTML element is root element. As I said, it's the ancestor of all the other tags. Head tag contains meta information. Meta information, for example, later we can say that we will be adding Bootstrap with a library, which will help us to build the front end part. So for all those, and also the title, everything comes under head. So it's meta information. It tells about the website. We also link CSS. So there are many different types of ways to write CSS, which we'll see later. This specifically for HTML, that two basics of HTML. So for that we use HTML head tag. Sorry. Then the body tag. It defines the document's body container for all the visible contents like headings, paragraph, images, hyperlinks, tables, etc. Everything what you see in a web page is under body tag. Then we have H1 tag, elements with defined large heading. So whatever is what we see here, H1 tag, that's the I can say that's the biggest, large heading tag. The size of it is highest. Later, what we can see is there is subsequently seven heading tags: H1, H2, H3, H4 till H7. So as we go on, the heading gets smaller and smaller. So if we see, for example, over here, we see HTML syntax over here. So this is the largest uh, heading. So we need to use H1 here to specify that this is the first heading we see. And the content inside it, if we have content inside something and there is content inside that, so for that we use H2, H3, H4, etc. P tag defines paragraph. So if you have a paragraph, you can put it in P tag. So yeah, it says as a graph. And other there are many tags which I cannot discuss here because it takes a lot of time for explanation. But this link will definitely uh, show you all the tags which is there in HTML. So please do check it. Uh, yeah. So what's new in HTML5? So this is a typical HTML structure which we can see, where we have div elements. So div element is like a box. It makes a box. If you use a div, you are suggesting it like this is the box. So if you want a header before HTML5, if you want a header, you need to define it like this. You need to make a div. You need to assign an ID, and you should tell it's an header and write some logic for it, etc. So you need to hard code everything. Even for post, you need to make a class. So the difference between ID class, everything will be told in CSS section. So like this, if you want a post, then if you want, article uh, part, article box. For that, you need to use post class, etc. If you need a footer means whatever you see at the end of the web page. For example, there will be contact, email, about us page, copyright section, all those things. That is the footer. For that, you need to make another div with ID footer. And if you want a menu, so if you see menu over here, uh, different menu which you can see. For that, you need to again hard code it using div element. So that was the problem in HTML. So in HTML5, that is completely changed. Now we have separate allotted tags for that. We can use header tag, we can use article tag, we can use navigation tag, navigation bar or menu bar. For that, we can use nav tag, footer tag, example. So whenever we use this, it will go and sit into that places. So that is the specialty of HTML5. And also in HTML5, uh, there is no problem of what we can tell if there is syntactical error, like if we don't close a tag or something, it doesn't give error. In HTML5, we have many new tags. That is article tag, we have aside tag, fig caption tag. So what is fig caption is when you uh, add a image, if you want caption on it, so you can use fig caption. We define the caption of that image. Figure is used conjunction with the fig caption. So figure and fig caption are they are used together to show an image with some information about the image, etc. So header tag, footer tag, main tag, etc. All these tags are there here. We also have section which will wrap up elements into a group. Each section typically includes heading elements and associated content within the div and paragraph. Yeah, exactly. So it will be associated with the div tag and the paragraph tag. So for that we call a section. So we also have time, which is not there in HTML, which consists of human-friendly content along with machine-readable form, date, time attribute, date, zone, offset, durations, dates, times, etc. Everything is there in HTML file. So this was about the presentation. Now let's see how we can uh, run HTML in Visual Studio Code. So I'm going to Visual Studio Code now. You can choose any editor if you want, but most of the programmers choose Visual Studio because it has many extensions, etc. And you can integrate it with GitHub. And there are many lot of features into Visual Studio Code. So highly recommend you to use this, but you can use other also. There is Atom, etc. Yeah. So when you open this, you see this page. So first, what you need to do is you need to go to your file explorer. You can choose F or E or other disk other than C because C has the OS. Uh, I'll choose E. So I will make a new folder here. I will call it webdev. Yeah. So after this, you come to Visual Studio Code. Then you can open folder. So you go to the local disk where you have made the new folder. Then you can find your folder. So here is the folder. So I select the folder. So now I'm into this folder. So before writing any code, what we need to do is you can see in the left menu there is extensions. So in extensions, you can add extension like prettier, right? Okay. So here is prettier. So I already installed it, so I'm getting this. But you'll get an install box over here. You need to press it and wait for 1 or 2 minutes. So what this does is it will format it into a readable code. So if you have written a messy formatted code, it will format it for you. So that's about prettier. Next, you need to use live server. Live server. So what live server does is uh, you write the code, and when you save in the browser it will get auto saved and the changes will happen automatically. Only you do not need to reload the page. If you want that type, you can use open in browser. 1 minute. Yeah, so this is it. So yeah, you need to install this. What this does is uh, you need to save the file and also you need to reload the web page in the browser. So for that this is used, but I would recommend you to use live server because automatically the changes happens in the browser. So these three extensions is enough. Then you you can press this for a new file. You can write the name of the HTML file. I will take example .html, and let's try the same code which you have put over here. Yeah. So I press Control S to save. Then what I do is I right click, and I will uh, first I will press open in other browsers. So it will ask me whichever browsers I want. So I will choose Google Chrome. Yeah. So this is the output of the web page. So let me show you if you do this, what happens. So if I want to add something here, so for example, I will use h2 tag. Okay. So I press Control S over here, and when I go to the browser, you can see there is no change. You need to press this reload, and now you can see this another heading has popped up. So that happens because you have used the open in browser extension. But if you want live server, live, uh, uh, I mean update, you can use open in live server. So you can see here this is live server. Now you can see here if I delete this, and if I just hit if I just press Control S and I uh, go to the web page, you can see automatically it's updated. That part is removed. The second editing. I'll show you. So here it is. I press Control S. I go to the browser and see it is automatically reloaded. But here it doesn't happen in other uh, web page. This one. See, it did not delete this. I need to reload it. Only then it will get deleted. So for next our tutorials, we will use this part itself. That is live server. So another extension which I used is prettier. So let's see why it is helpful. So if you have not see, this is not this unformatted code. Like head tag should be inside the HTML tag with the space over here. So that formatting should happen. Even the title also, it should have some space. So these tags are like the child will be there will be a tag in the child tag. Before the child tag starts in a parent tag, there will be a space which you're telling to other developers to maintain the readability of the code. So how to make this proper? You have installed Prettier extension. So now it's easy. What you can do is right click and you can press this format document. So see, you can automatically see that it's formatted. Head tag is having some space over here. Title tag is also having space over here. Yeah, and these both are different parents, head tag and body tag. So they are in the same line, but they are child tag of HTML. So both are having space. So you can call body and head as siblings of each other in human language. Yeah, so this is about it. Why this is why HTML has opening and closing tag? Uh, this great question, because why can't we have only opening tag and let the browser know uh, when to end it? So So that why it is not so, because now I'm writing the code and I know that where the content ends and where the content starts, because it's in formatted code. But when you send web page from server to client or client to server, there is no formatting. It doesn't format any code. How it sends is like this. All the tags will be having no separation between them. It will be like this. So this is the type of HTML which is sent from client to server or server to client. Internally, this everything is converted into uh, a tree, which we'll see later, and again it will be converted into binary format and sent from one place to another. Yeah, but this is before that. See, you can see there is no formatting over here. Now, what happens is if I don't have any closing tag over here. So for example, if I don't have title tag over here, then it cannot understand where it ends. So for that reason, we have formatting. Otherwise, there will be a confusion when we send data from one place to another. Yeah. So now, if I want this to look formatted for me, I can easily use format document, and it comes to normal place. You can try different tags which I have sent in the PowerPoint. So if you go through that link, you can use different tags, play with it, because there are so many tags that I cannot explain it in one video. So yeah, so that's about this video. I hope it's not too long. This was just the intro section. So this covers basics of HTML, how to run in code editor. We also saw about front and back end technologies, introduction to web development, etc. Yeah. So thank you for watching. Next, we'll come up with more HTML tags uh, if it's possible, or we'll start with CSS directly. Yeah. So thank you very much for